Good morning. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We are a spiritually diverse, justice-seeking community with one great aim: to grow in love. Love for our neighbor, love of ourselves, and love for the planet. Welcome to those of you joining us virtually. Let's turn to the cameras and give our virtual community a wave. Good. We now have the ability to see you, your beautiful faces on the screens. So here in the sanctuary. So turn on your cameras so we can see you. Carol Elmore, we have a shout out for you today. Edith, hello. Hello, Trish. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Brian. Oh, that's great. If you are seeking something larger than yourself, or are in search of your own heart, you are welcome here. If you believe that all religions of the world are right and true, but none is entirely right nor true, nor does any religion have a corner on the market of truth, you are welcome here. If you believe that each of us has to seek the truth in the possibility of science and religion coexisting together, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you identify, however you pray, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. If you are curious about the fellowship or Unitarian Universalism, you're invited to join the Inquirers classes. The next session will be June 23rd, and it is Congregational Life and Care. We know it takes a lot of courage to cross the threshold and to enter into a new community, either in person or virtually. So to our newcomers, we're especially glad you are here with us this morning. We invite you to introduce yourselves after the service in the hospitality room just to our right, your left. And for those of you online, please fill out a newcomer card or in the chat so we can keep you connected with all that is happening in our fellowship.
As we gather together, we acknowledge that the land upon which our church and homes exist is the ancestral land stolen from the people of the Shoshone-Bannock, the Shoshone-Paiute, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai, and Nez Perce nations, along with many other tribes whose names have been lost in history. We acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our ongoing commitment to the work of dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
I invite you to gather in together by singing This Little Light of Mine. It is hymn number 118. Please rise as you are able. The words will be printed on the screen. Thank you. That was great. Unlike the introduction where I omitted a whole section, so I apologize to our AV Tech crew. And let me introduce you, thank you, Justin. To our spiritual theme for the month is benediction, the practice of pronouncing blessings. As Unitarian Universalists who recognize many paths to the holy, a blessing can come from anyone, anywhere, anytime. Each of us holds the power to pronounce blessings, to honor and celebrate that divine spark that lives within us. Now you see why This Little Light of Mine was the perfect song to follow that. Within us, around us, and beyond us. Recognizing that we are here today and we are not in Ponderosa camping with our fellows in the great outdoors. I think you will come to find that the stories we tell today provide a glimpse of that divine spark. I'm Debra Smith, I'm your celebrant, and I'm joined today by Sabin, and we are going to bring you some delightful stories. Well, poignant. As we enter into this time of worship, let us take a moment to breathe together. Fill your body with breath, knowing that our breath connects us to one another, to our bodies, and to our planet. Our breath offers us the opportunity for stillness, to tune into our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's own longing. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-riven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream.
When I was young, I thought the stars were made for wishing on, and every hole deep in a tree might hide a leprechaun. Old houses all had secret rooms if one could find the key. I do believe in magic, I believe. Magic is the sun that makes the rainbow out of rain, and magic keeps the dream alive to try and try again. Magic is the love that stays when good friends have to leave. I do believe in magic. I believe.
Growing up, the grown-ups said someday I'd wake to find that magic's just a childhood dream I'd have to leave behind. Like clothes that would no longer fit and toys that I'd ignore. I not believe in magic anymore.
When I grew up, I learned again that much to my surprise, magic did not fade away. It took a new disguise. A child, a friend, a smile, a song, the courage to stand tall. I do believe in magic after all. Magic is the sun that makes a rainbow out of rain, and magic keeps the dream alive to try and try again. Magic is the love that stays when good friends have to leave. I do believe in magic. Yes, I do believe in magic. Love is the greatest magic after all.
As we enter into this time of worship, let us take a moment to breathe. Together, fill your body with breath, knowing that our breath connects us to one another, to our bodies, and to our planet. Our breath offers us this opportunity for stillness, in which moment Anne discovers she's at the wrong part of the service. You've all heard that one before, but we thought you'd like to hear it again because it's always a good thing to breathe. We're now lighting the chalice. Each week we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We join in this lighting in solidarity and community with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists lighting chalices today in churches, homes, and in virtual spaces, reminding us that we are connected to one another and to a larger community of faith and love. As Debra lights the chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you in our virtual community to light a chalice, and if you have one nearby, and along with us this morning, then share in the chat where your chalice is lit. With our collective chalices lit in all our spaces, perhaps even in the McCall wilderness, we offer you this call to worship, The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wooddrake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of a still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Feeling the presence of nature's blessing all around us, come, let us worship together.
I invite all the children to come down now for our story time, our time for all ages. Please join us down here. That'd be great. And the Squire Strop family is going to tell us a story and sing us a story song.
Okay, so good morning. This song was written pretty much entirely by Ted's first and second grade class. At the school he goes to, they have dyads, so the first and second graders are together. And they their theme was belonging, so they wanted to write a song about belonging. All of these lyrics, with the exception of the chorus, were written pretty much verbatim by first and second graders in Ted's class. And so we wrote it together and recorded it together, and it's called We Belong. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that's what we're singing about right now. It's pretty much any of you down here or anybody can contribute to songwriting. It's not as hard as you think. Ready, guys? You can be yourself without trying to change it. You can be who you want to be. You can be yourself without being hurt or offended. Oh, you can always show your beauty.
May you always feel welcome. May you always feel like you belong. May you always glow golden. May you always rise up like the sun. May you always sparkle.
May you always feel like your body is good enough. You're good enough because you belong here. I belong here. We belong here. Whoa, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. You belong here. I belong here. We belong here. We belong. We will respect all our differences. We will let you shine. We will celebrate your identity. Oh, we will be nice to everyone all the time.
May you always feel welcome. May you always let your wings fly. May you always shine like a star. May you be yourself and always rise. May you always feel good here.
May you always belong where you choose and choose. Where you belong. You belong here. I belong here. We belong here. Whoa, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. You belong here. I belong here. We belong here. We belong.
Belonging is when you feel like yourself.
Belonging feels like you are included. Yeah.
Belonging feels like you were meant to be here.
Belonging is when you feel safe.
Belonging means other people are nice to you.
Dig it.
Belonging means you don't always have to like the same things, and that's okay.
Belonging means you don't have to speak the same language to be friends.
Belonging means you don't have to wear the same clothes or look the same, and that's okay too.
You belong here. I belong here. We belong here. Whoa, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. You belong here. I belong here. We belong here. We belong. Thank you. Thanks for signing along. Good.
I invite the community to sing our community blessing to the children and invite them to follow Emily out the door for their religious exploration classes.
When we give, we say yes. We say yes to building beloved communities within and beyond our walls. We say yes to creating a better place than when we first arrived. Today, we have the opportunity to share these gifts with our plate partner, Jessie Tree of Idaho, whose mission is to keep families in their homes and to avoid becoming unhoused. Here to tell us more about it is State Senator and Executive Director of Jessie Tree, Ali Rabi.
Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you all for choosing Jessie Tree to be your plate partner today. If my eyes are a little red, I am having allergies right now. I also just got a little teary-eyed at that super adorable song, and just really hit home for me the treasure that this congregation is for our community and the message that you share with our state and community. Everyone belongs here, and so I just really appreciate all that you do and the fact that you have a plate partner every month that's a local nonprofit, I think is just really incredible. I'm someone who has been born and raised in the Treasure Valley, and I think something that makes our community really special is just our investment in the community. Everyone that I know from the Treasure Valley really cares about our community and the future of our community and what that means. And everyone I know makes investments in the community in different ways. And I really do think that's what makes this a special place to live. So appreciate all that you do. So I, born and raised here, but I did have worked in public service my whole life, but most recently before taking on the work of Jessie Tree 5 years ago, I worked in homelessness in the Bay Area. And so, speaking of a big problem and a community that is struggling, that is a place that's really struggling, and many cities across the United States are struggling with the problem of homelessness. So, it's very difficult to solve when you end up in a situation like San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles now, where it's such a large problem and it's so expensive to kind of just maintain the problem of homelessness. They don't really have the opportunity to ask the question, what if we prevented this from happening, to people and to the community as a whole? So, when I took on Jessie Tree 5 years ago, I was really excited about our mission to prevent homelessness from happening to individuals and families, children, but also to the community as a whole. And essentially what we do is when someone can't pay their rent because, usually they've lost their job, they've had a divorce or healthcare issue or challenge with childcare, car breakdown, whatever it is, their budget is disrupted because of something that's happened to them. And we essentially will pay the rent that they owe and provide them with services, including case management, connection to resources, goal setting. We do financial literacy training. We also do mediation between the tenant and the landlord to come up with an agreement. So we are actually preventing eviction for about 100 families every single month. Yeah. So having a huge impact, and we've actually looked across the country, there isn't really an organization like ours having the impact that we're having, administering about $150,000 a month in rental assistance to those 100 families. And most of that money comes from members of the community. So again, I get to see every day just our community stepping up to support others that are struggling right now. Hundreds of stories, thousands of stories every month. We're meeting about 30% of the need that's out there from people actively being evicted. And evictions have doubled in recent years just because the cost of rent has increased by about 40%. So for people that were paying about $1,000 a month a few years ago, they're now paying about $1,400 a month. So having to make up a lot of their budget here with the cost of rent. So we're just, the fact of the matter is more and more renters are living paycheck to paycheck. So more and more people are needing assistance because life happens to all of us, right? Just a few examples. I was in court last week. We serve tenants directly in court as well as pre-court. So if the eviction process has been initiated, we work with their landlord to keep it out of court. But we're also directly in court providing assistance. And I was there last week, and just a few examples. I served a woman who had a recent issue with domestic violence with her partner, and her partner had moved out and left the home and left them without any assistance. So she obviously had a hard time paying rent, and she had brought her 5-year-old and 10-year-old child to court with her, and we were able to pay what she owed and connect her to some resources so she could get through her situation, help her come up with a plan, and avoid getting that eviction on her record. There was another single woman who we had recently had her partner just abandon her, so she was without his portion of the rent. We also served an older woman who was on a fixed income whose rent had been increased by about $300 a month. She couldn't cover the difference, and so ended up going to court. She had looked for another place to live, couldn't find one that she could afford, so ended up in court, and we were able to negotiate an agreement with her landlord to move her out of that place, but we'll also keep working with her to help her find a new place that she can afford. So anyway, those are just a few examples that I saw really recently. So the money that you provide as a plate partner will go directly towards rental payments for these folks that we're supporting, and we'll be able to keep them in their homes during a really difficult time. So thank you for partnering with us, and I'll be around for any questions, but thank you again for being such wonderful members of the community. Your congregation is truly a treasure to this community. Thank you.
There are many ways you can make a financial gift: online, on our website, using the Vanco app, or in person using our drop boxes. However you choose to give, you nurture our community, and we are grateful. I invite the ushers to come forward. Our offering will be gratefully received.
Please join me in the blessing of our offering. We bless these gifts so freely given. May generosity always be our companions as we walk the holy path toward ever greater compassion and beauty. May it be so. Thank you for your gifts. Soon we'll have an air conditioning system. Each week, we take time to acknowledge the many joys among us and grieve our sorrows and losses so that we might lift the burden for one another and receive the blessing of this community. It is through our sharing with one another that we forge deep bonds of community and connection. We begin by sharing this joy today. Laurel and Lauren Case are celebrating with us their 50th wedding anniversary. They have provided the flowers on our chancel this morning, which will serve to be our campfire, so use your imagination. Cake will be served in the hospitality suite following the service. And speaking of chancel flowers, I would like to express our thanks to Carol Elmore, who's out there, and Carol Ogborn for their tireless contributions to the chancel with their beautiful flower arrangements we so often enjoy. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of love, that we may hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. May we feel the grace that surrounds us and be transformed by the spirit of life and love, with warmth to celebrate our joys and with gentleness to soothe our aching hearts. Please breathe in to this community the love that surrounds us. Feel the loving kindness. Breathe with wholeheartedness. Listen to what is calling you in the silence. Liza was in Europe until Thursday of last week and saw the proposed music on Thursday, and here she is. I said, could you do Cole Porter for me? Such a blessing. In the preface to her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer says this about stories. Old stories and new ones can be medicine for the broken relationship with earth, a pharmacopoeia of healing stories that allow us to imagine a different relationship in which people and land are good medicine for each other. One story she tells is about the practice of building a fire and the rituals learned from her Algonquin people. I knew that in the long ago times, our people raised their thanks in morning songs, in prayer, and the offering of sacred tobacco. My mother had her own more pragmatic ritual of respect. Before we paddled away from any camping place, she made us kids scour the place to be sure that it was spotless. Leave this place better than you found it, she admonished. We also had to leave wood for the next person's fire, with tinder and kindling carefully sheltered from rain by a sheet of birch bark. I like to imagine their pleasure, those other paddlers arriving after dark to find a ready pile of fuel to warm their evening meal. So much depends upon the lighting of a fire, so neatly laid on the cold ground and circled by stones, a platform of dry maple kindling, a floor of fine twiglets snapped from the underside of a fir, a nest of shredded bark ready for the coal over which broken pine branches are balanced to draw the flame upward. Plenty of fuel, plenty of oxygen, all the elements are in place, but without the spark, it is only a pile of dead sticks. So much depends upon the spark. It was a point of pride in my family that we learned to light a fire with a single match. My father was our teacher, along with the woods themselves, and we learned without lessons. By playing and watching and wanting to emulate his comfort with wild places. He patiently showed us how to search out the right materials. Incrementally, we observed the architecture that would feed the flame. He put great store in a fine wood pile, and many of our days in the woods were spent felling, hauling, and splitting. Firewood warms you twice, he patiently observed. He would always say, as we emerged from the woods hot and sweaty, in the doing of it, we learned to recognize the trees by their bark, by their wood, and by the way they burned for different purposes. Pitchy pine for light, beech for a bed of coals, sugar maples to bake pies in the reflector oven. He never said so directly, but fire making was more than just a woodscraft skill. To build a good fire, a person had to work. There were high standards. No piece of half-rotten birch was permitted in his woodpile. Punky, he would say, toss it aside. Knowledge of the flora was a given, as was respected treatment of the wood, so that you gathered without doing harm. There was always plenty of standing dead wood there for the taking, already dry and seasoned. Only natural elements went into a good fire. No paper, or heaven forbid, gasoline. And green wood was an affront to both aesthetics and ethics. No lighters allowed. We earned high praise for the ideal one-match fire, but plenty encouragement if we needed a dozen. And at some point, it became natural and easy, no feat at all. I found a secret that always worked for me: to sing to the fire as I touched the match to the tinder. Woven into my dad's fire teachings was appreciation for all that the woods gave us, and a sense of our responsibility for reciprocity. We never left a camping place without leaving a pile of wood for the next people on the trail, just as my mother said. Paying attention, being prepared and patient, and doing right the first time, the skill and the values were so closely intertwined that fire-making became for us an emblem of a certain kind of virtue. Once we mastered the one-match fire, then came the one-match fire in the rain. And the snow. With the right materials carefully assembled and respect for the ways of the air and the wood, you could always have a fire. The power of that simple act, with a single match, you could make people feel safe and happy. Convert a bunch of sodden individuals into a convivial group, thinking of stew and songs. It was an amazing gift to carry in your pocket, and a serious responsibility to be used as well. After we were all grown up and fully fire competent, my father made sure his grandchildren could also light a one-match fire. At 83, he teaches fire building at our Native Youth Science Camp, sharing the same lessons he gave us. They have a race to have their little blazes burn through a string stretched across the fire's circle. One day after the contest had been won, he sat on a stump poking at the fire. "Did you know," he asked them, "that there are 4 kinds of fire?" I'm expecting his lesson on hardwoods and softwoods, but there is something else on his mind. "Well, first, of course, there's this campfire you made. You can cook on it, keep warm next to it. It's a good place to sing, and it keeps the coyotes away. And toast marshmallows," pipes up one of the kids. "You bet. And bake potatoes, make bannock. You can cook most anything on a campfire. Who knows what other kinds of fire?" he asks. "Forest fires?" one of the students tries tentatively. "Sure," he says. "What the people used to call thunderbird fires, forest fires ignited by lightning. Sometimes they'd get put out by the rain, but sometimes they could turn into huge wildfires. They could be so hot they'd destroy everything for miles around. Nobody likes that kind of fire. But our people learned to set fires that were small and in just the right place and time so that they helped rather than hurt. The people set these fires on purpose to take care of the land, to help the blueberries grow, or to make meadows for deer." He holds up a sheet of birch bark. "In fact, look at all that birch bark you used for your fire. Young paper birches only grow up after fire. So our ancestors burned forests to create clearings for birch. The symmetry of using fire to create fire-building materials was not lost on them. They needed birch bark, so they used their own fire science to create birch forests. The land gives us so many gifts. Fire is a way we can give back. In modern times, the public thinks fire is only destructive. but they've forgotten or simply never knew how people used fire as a creative force. The fire stick was like a paintbrush on the landscape. Touch it here, a small dab, and you've made a green meadow for elk. A light scatter there burns off the brush so the oaks make more acorns. A wash over a grassy meadow turns it blue with camas. Our people were given the responsibility to use fire to make things beautiful and productive. It was our art and our science. Okay, what are the other kinds of fire, my father asks as he adds a stick to the fire at his feet. Sacred fire, like for ceremonies, comes the answer. Of course, my dad says, the fires we use to carry prayers for healing, for sweat lodges. That fire represents our life, the spiritual teachings that we've had from the very beginning. The sacred fire is the symbol of life and spirit, so we have special fire keepers to care for them. You might not get to be around those fires very often, he says, but there's a fire you must tend every day. It's the hardest one to take care of. It is the one right here, he says, tapping his finger against his chest. Your own fire, your spirit. We carry a piece of that sacred fire within us. We have to honor it and care for it. You are the fire keepers. I'm going to invite my friend Anne up here. We're going to do another story for you. This is an excerpt from a 2012 interview with KRISTA TIPPETT for her On Being podcast. In it, a Unitarian Universalist chaplain, Kate BRAESTRUP, who served the game wardens in the wilds of Maine, who knew, was being interviewed. Game wardens were often involved in search and rescue missions, some ending happily, others not. She works, as she put it, quote, at the hinges of human experience, when lives alter unexpectedly, where loss, disaster, decency, and beauty intertwine. So I'll be KRISTA TIPPETT in my dreams. And Anne will be Kate BRAESTRUP. May our stories be a pharmacopoeia of healing. May our stories pronounce themselves as blessings. May our stories warm us with examples of compassion and tenderness. May we tend our stories as fire keepers, keeping alive our faith in the human potential for creating beauty and decency out of loss and disaster. You are the fire keepers.
Do, 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 do. All right. You all know this one, so feel free to sing along if you want to. Good. when the night has come, the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should crumble and fall, or the mountain crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Stand by me, stand by me, stand by me. Thank you.
I want to express my gratitude, our gratitude, for the incredible musicians that we have in this congregation. It is such a blessing. Friends, I invite you to place your hands over your hearts for our closing blessing. These words come to us from the wisdom of the ancestors and all respectable campers. Leave this place better than you found it. May it be so. Amen.